a few minutes for people to arrive. Actually, a couple more minutes. I'm so glad you're here. I thought, is anybody going to come today? And Lenny's here from London. Happy New Year, Lenny. Lenny and I went to preschool together. And thanks to our parents, we stayed connected because I'm not that great at staying connected, as Lenny knows.
Happy New Year, Trudy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Okay. So once again, welcome to our Sunday morning sitting group on New Year's Day. And my name is Trudy. I'm the founding teacher here at Inside LA. Happy to see you, Cecily, and everybody else. And for those of you who may be new to Inside LA, we divide the time roughly into thirds. So 1/3 meditation together, which we're about to do, and then we have some teachings and then a chance to have some dialogue. I am just, again, really thankful for all of you being here today. Like last week, I wasn't sure if I would be alone or have company. And it's wonderful to get a chance to study and practice together as a kind of stepping stone into the new year. I'm talking to you from Venice, California, the unceded lands of the Tongva, sometimes called Keys, and further north, a little bit, Chumash, indigenous people who lived here thousands of years before we ever got here. With a bow to all beings, let's sit together. So finding a comfortable posture for your body. I might do today a little bit, instead of leaving quite so much silence and doing a sort of classic guided meditation of one kind or another, today I think might intersperse some reflections since it is the new year. Just maybe a few reflections that we can share together afterwards. So finding a comfortable frame for your body to be in for the next approximately half hour. I like to begin always by taking 3 deep cleansing breaths, breathing in the aliveness of this moment, and breathing out. And once again, breathing in and breathing out any tension there may be in the body. One more deep breath in and breathing out, relaxing, releasing, relaxing fully into this particular moment in all eternity. Allowing the breath to move naturally in its own rhythm, a rhythm that inevitably reflects our state of mind and heart. Just noticing how it is for you. How it is for your body. What's happening in your stream of consciousness as all the thoughts and feelings flow by. It's as though we're sitting on the banks of this stream of consciousness, just watching all the ideas and dreams and joys and sorrows flow by while we sit still or lie still or stand still. And just noticing if the mind is busy or jumpy this morning, just bringing slightly more attention to the out breath, that relaxing, calming, releasing breath. And seeing if you can keep the breath company with your mindful attentiveness, bringing attention to the whole length of the breath. And with that out breath, noticing where it just sort of vanishes, dissolves into space before the next breath is born. And if the mind is kind of sleepy or dull, just bring more attention to the in breath, that energizing, inspiring breath in. And maybe noticing this slight pause in between the breaths, where there's always just a fleeting moment of stillness. And when, in spite of best intentions to stay present, the mind keeps wandering away into the past or the future, into memories, regrets, or planning, dreams, fears, all of that, just gently move your body back, maybe just a half an inch or an inch. And notice the subtle sense of relaxation as you move back into this posture of receptivity. And if you're lying down, just letting the body relax, another layer of relaxation into the earth, into the ground. Just receiving the moment. not leaning forward, anticipating the next moment, just stepping back, settling back, and receiving this one. Just receiving the bounty of this moment, this breath, this sound, these sensations in the body, the thoughts and feelings flowing by. And today, as we meditate, be inviting into your heart whatever dreams, intentions you wish to manifest in this new year, in the freshness and openness of a new beginning. Just noticing what arises in your consciousness when you pose the question, what is my heart's desire? No need to think about it, just see what comes up, what floats down the stream, what appears and disappears, moment to moment, as you invite, what is my heart's desire? So happy New Year, everyone. This is it's really a day to celebrate letting go of the past year, uh, which I saw this image, actually a little statue that a friend had at his house, a little cause sculpture of this figure. Um, and it was all scrunched up with its knees up, and it had its head like this. And I thought, that's kind of like what my last year was, you know. And then they had the 2020, they had another little statue of the 2021 with this figure completely flattened, lying on its face. And I thought, no, it wasn't that. It was just kind of like hard, hard. So I don't know. This has been 3 pretty hard years, actually, for everybody in some ways. And I don't know what your year was like, but this is a day when we really get a chance to let go of whatever last year was, and like like that beautiful song Auld Lang Syne. I feel like 2022 is an old acquaintance. It will not be forgotten, but we're starting a new year, and it feels really good and very auspicious to be in this freshness of a kind of beginner's mind. We don't know what this year will bring. And then it's a chance to also watch the mind and see, oh, am I slipping into dystopian fantasies about what the next year can bring? Or am I holding out the possibility for things being not just okay, but maybe even so much better than we might have imagined? And that includes, for those of you, those of us who may be facing some difficult things, they may turn out just okay, better than we could imagine. So I just want to share some things that I was reflecting on in relation to the new year, and sort of how our lives work. And then we will have breakout groups today. Is that true, Caroline? Thank you, Caroline, for moderating.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to show your face for a minute? Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for
Of
moderating today.
course.
And so, the breakout groups are a place where it's a chance to share, and Zoom puts you in them randomly. So it's not some hot sociometric exercise of who belongs with who or anything like that. You can relax about that. But it might be a time to share whatever intentions, because this is a time of year when we set intentions for the coming year. And I remember when we used to, in the before times, meet in person at Insight LA, there would be standing room only after New Year's at the meditation group, because everybody was setting the intention to, to deepen or establish or continue and sustain their meditation practice for the year, right? And it's difficult to sustain those intentions. Do you remember what your New Year's resolutions were for last year? Do you even remember? I take heart, because I've told this story. When I first moved to LA, I didn't know anybody here except my family members, and I went to a New Year's Eve celebration at ZCLA, the Zen Center of Los Angeles. And the wonderful teacher there, Agyoku Roshi, Wendy Nakao, she opened the ceremony about the intentions and setting intentions. She opened that part of the ceremony by saying, I can't even remember what my New Year's resolution was last year. And I felt a lot better, because I couldn't remember mine either. But it is a time to feel that it's a kind of cosmic permission, or at least a calendared permission, to start anew, to begin anew, and to reflect on what you'd like to leave behind and what you'd like to bring forward. And Jack and I last night, we stayed in. It was a rainy evening here in Southern California, most welcome. And we made a reel for all of you. even if you don't go on social media, go on Instagram and look at it because it was really fun. The only thing I'll give you a funny, just watch till the end because the smoke alarm goes off in our house at the end. And it was kind of the perfect punctuation for this reel. So if you don't know, you could put in the chat and by the way, if you have questions or reflections at any point, we're very chat positive here. You can just put them in the chat. But Caroline put Trudy_Goodman all lowercase, and then people can just go on and see it. And because it really is, it's just our New Year's blessing for everybody. So I've been reflecting on, I've been listening to a book by James McBridle. I'm going to show it to you because I think it's just so wonderful. Hold on. It's called Ways of Being. Some of you might know this book. And yeah, you could put it in the chat too. Ways of Being by James McBridle. I just completely recommend it. And he's really talking about ways of being of all different organisms in the world, plants and animals and AI and, just all different kinds of things, and how we really, we are often just inhabiting a sliver of reality. And it made me reflect a lot. Listening to the book made me reflect a lot about some of the principles that I'd like to keep in my awareness, my intention this year. Principles like symbiosis. Well, you probably learned about symbiosis back in biology class, what that is, right? And symbiosis, the definition is it's a close relationship between two or more organisms of different species that can benefit both parties. And they can be beneficial ones, like relationships where both parties benefit, or one where one party benefits while the other one is neither helped or harmed. A beneficial one, when I get to be in Hawaii for our Ram Dass retreat and I'm snorkeling, I see sometimes, it's rare, but sometimes you can see where a smaller fish is cleaning the shell of a turtle. They're eating whatever stuff collects on that turtle's shell, and the turtles, it's almost as though there's a cleaning station, a car wash or something. You can sometimes see turtles waiting to have their shells cleaned by the fish. So obviously the fish are nibbling on something that they like. I don't know, sort of ice cream cone, something on the turtle shell for the fish. And the turtles are patiently, waiting because I guess it feels good to them not to have stuff on their shell. So that's an example of symbiosis. But when we think of it in terms of our human relationships and human interactions, it's such a compelling model for the world instead of this competitive, Darwinian survival of the fittest, which actually he didn't ever say that. He was talking much more about survival of the most cooperative, not the most fittest. I sometimes have called it the survival of the kindest, but certainly the most cooperative. And then I've been thinking too about how symbiosis is very linked to principles that we learn in our practice of mindfulness and compassion that comes from the Buddhist principles of dependent origination. The 12 links of dependent origination are a central teaching in Buddhism, which is teaching that everything arises in dependence on other things. Nothing exists independently of everything else. And you can see this in our daily lives in a way, just to be practical about it and not so theoretical. But for example, when you're faced with a difficult situation, which happens regularly in our lives, right? And you can remember that this situation is not independent of everything else. It's not an isolated occurrence, and it doesn't isolate you or me. It's it's really, it's dependent on other things, other factors, and we have the power to influence and change some of those factors. So we can take refuge in this idea that we have agency and ability to change our lives, even with things that feel sort of intractable or predetermined or something, but that we don't have to feel powerless or at the mercy of external circumstances. And I think that's one of the ways we can look at the connection between symbiosis, right? The interconnection of all things, and dependent origination, which is also about how one thing leads to another. What's that old song? The thigh bone connected to the hip bone, connected to the, things are connected to each other. We are connected to each other. And I think recognizing that interconnectedness of each other, it just automatically, we can feel a sense of more care and responsibility for each other and for our community, and be more compassionate maybe in our interactions with our communities, hopefully. So also, and I haven't even finished reading James McBridle's book. I think I'm chapter 5 or something, but it's very dense, but not dense in an unreadable way, just dense in a very rich, it's just very rich. That's a better word for it. And then he was talking about quantum entanglement. Now, I am not a physicist. I never even took physics, let alone quantum physics. So this is just sort of an anthropomorphic understanding of physics, not anthro, but you know what I mean. One of my heroes in science is a woman named Karen Barad, Barad. You can look up her work. She, I think, is a professor of physics at Santa Cruz, I believe. And when I read her or listen to her, I love it because she actually, even though there's nothing scientifically proven, she actually takes a kind of joy in describing quantum entanglement, for example, in terms that are relational and that are actually, it's kind of fun to listen to. I understand it when I'm listening to her, and then my understanding evaporates when I want to share it with you. But just to clarify for you who might not be clear about this, because it's hard for me to sustain any clarity I have about it. Quantum entanglement is a phenomenon where about the connections between particles, tiny, tiny subatomic particles, right? And it shows how they're connected and their states get linked to each other, even if they're separated by large distances. And this means that the state of one particle, if it changes, the state of the other particle changes. What I'm curious about is that it usually changes into the opposite state, but I don't know why. I was trying to find out why, but I don't think people are just studying these matters. It's literally these matters. It's a strange and mysterious phenomenon that I think is puzzling physicists as much as, me. But it has important implications for how we understand reality, the reality that we're embedded in, this web of existence that in the Buddhist sutras they call Indra's net, this net of connectivity where at each node where the net, it connects, and at each place where the nodal connections between is like a jewel whose facets reflect all the other jewels in the net. It's a very beautiful metaphor that's found in the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Flower Ornament Sutra, that I think is very much like, it's an illustration of interdependence and independent origination, but it's very much like this quantum field of entanglement. Because, and I'm reading here, this is not from the perspective of quantum physics, everything is connected. at the subatomic level. Everything, including you, and no matter how lonely or isolated you might be feeling, you are connected. I know it might be sort of cold comfort at the subatomic level, but it does mean that the actions of one particle, one of us, I'm obviously extrapolating, have an effect on the other particles, on the other beings, no matter how far apart they are. And of course, from the perspective of Buddhism, we're interconnected, and our thoughts and our actions have consequences, for us, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. And in both cases, this sense of interconnection can enhance our sense of compassion and responsibility, which has implications for how we live our lives and how we relate to each other. So when I was thinking about these things, reading this book and really having fun reflecting on it, I thought, I'm going to see, I've been playing with ChatGPT, the open AI that I told you about, and that you can also play with. It is super fun. Just go to openai.com and put that too in the chat, please, Caroline. Openai.com and then click on Chat GPT, and then you will be asked to put in your name and your phone number and your email. But don't worry, it's just a beta test. It is free for now, so that's why I'm really enjoying it a lot right now. But I was having fun with while I was thinking about these ideas. I thought, okay, here's what I asked the AI. I said, give me a funny example of dependent origination in Buddhism. Like, let's make this funny because it's New Year's Day, and I was reflecting on these very philosophical things that were super enjoyable, but I thought for sharing with you. So it said, okay, this is AI speaking. These are the words. Sure, here's a humorous example. It didn't say funny, I said funny. Here's a humorous example of dependent origination in Buddhism. Imagine that you're craving a delicious slice of pizza. You start thinking about all the factors that had to come together in order for you to be able to enjoy that pizza. The farmer who grew the wheat for the dough, the truck driver who delivered the flour to the pizzeria, the chef who mixed and kneaded the dough and added the toppings and baked it and all that. As you reflect on all the I'm adding things. As you reflect on all the different factors that had to come together in order for you to be able to enjoy your slice of pizza, you start to see nothing exists independently or in isolation. Everything is interconnected. Everything is interdependent. In this sense, your craving for pizza arises in dependence upon all these other factors and not something that exists independently of them. And then it goes on and it says at the end, happy pizza eating. So then I asked it for a funny example of entanglement. Let me see if I can find it. It did answer. I wasn't sure if it would. Oh, first I asked it for a funny example of symbiosis. And it said, if you've ever had a dog or a cat, you know they can be pretty darn good at begging for food. But did you know this is actually a form of symbiosis? Your furry friend is relying on you for food and shelter while you're getting all the love and cuddles you want in return. It's a win-win. Okay, so there's the symbiosis example. It gave lots more, but we don't have to hear all this. And I thought, okay. So then I asked, write a funny blog about how how entanglement of the laws of quantum physics, how do you copy the chat? You just copy it. I don't know. You just put select, and then you you put select, you hit command C, and then it's copied, and then you just paste it into a Word document or wherever else you want it with command V. Um, okay, oh, I said, write a funny blog about, I'm sorry, hold on, I'm losing track here. Oh, I said, write a funny blog about the quantum field. These are things I want to know about. What are they anyway? So it said, the quantum field is not just a fancy term that scientists make up to make you feel stupid. It's also the source of endless hilarity and absurdity. I don't know. AI doesn't seem to like the word fun. Okay, that might be stretching the truth a bit, but the quantum field is definitely a mysterious and fascinating and mysterious concept worth exploring. But enough of the science, and it explains the science, what I had read to before. Let's get to the funny stuff. Imagine if you could somehow tune into the quantum field like a radio station. You could pick up all sorts of strange and interesting signals, like maybe the sound of a black hole sucking in matter, or the whispers of different galaxies. It would be like the ultimate cosmic prank call. Or let's say you're feeling a bit down and you wish you could have a special superpower to cheer you up. Well, with the quantum field, you can. Just tune into the right frequency and you can give yourself the ability to fly or become invisible or teleport to a different location. The possibilities are endless. So next time you're feeling a bit down, just remember the quantum field is here to help. All right, that was silly. But I'm going to let other people answer the chats about copying this stuff because I want to talk directly to you. So some of you might want to offer help and suggestions to the people who are asking questions. So on a more serious note, when you think about your heart's desire, when you think about your intentions for the new year, when I think about mine, it's really helpful to me to remember these principles that I've been reading about, the principles of symbiosis, the principles of entanglement, the principles of dependent origination. And it makes the world come even more alive when I realize that, if I could study plants like another scientist hero of mine, Monica Gaglione, in Australia, and I know from her experiments that they can remember, that they can remember, that they communicate. Maybe I would hear not just the whispers of distant galaxies, but the whispers of the plants all around me, the leaves, the trees, the plants and flowers, or the voices of the creatures, the birds, whatever creatures are around you, the barking dogs in your neighborhood, the meow of your hungry cat. If I really tune in to the aliveness and the fact that those voices are in a language that I don't understand. I'm not Dr. Dolittle. I don't understand, but they are a language and they are communications. How interesting that these different species, if only we really could hear each other in one common language, but I think we can. I think it's the language of the heart. I think it's the language of stepping back from our, excuse me. I think it's the language of stepping back from our all too human agendas, what we want and don't want and crave and avoid in each moment. Stepping back from that to actually listen to the world, to receive the bounty and beauty of this moment of presence when we are present. I think it's the language of prajna, of intuitive wisdom, that can sense and feel, if not cognitively, receive and understand, can sense and feel what's most true in the world. So today I want to encourage you to set the kinds of intentions that you can recognize, and when you've reached them. Like I could say, oh, I really want to be a more loving person. But what does that look like actually? How will I know? Practically, what does that look like? Does it look like I forgive that friend I've had a grudge towards because they insulted me? What does it look like? Some specific things when you set your intentions. And I'd actually like to, before we begin to have some dialogue and share, to take a few minutes just to close our eyes for just a minute or two, and set some intentions that are specific, specific enough that we'll know when we've gotten there, and we can celebrate that. It might be something that you want to focus on in your practice, a particular meditation you want to learn or cultivate or deepen. It could be anything that matters to you in your life. It could be deepening your practice. It could be facing some fears and doing some things you've been avoiding. It could be having more fun. Whatever it might be, let's just take a moment to formulate one or two intentions we might set for this coming year. And now it's your turn to share, and you can share your intention if you feel like it, or anything that's arising in your practice that you might wonder about. I call this questions and reflections. We used to say Q&A, but I don't have the A's. I don't have the answers. They're really in you, in your own hearts. So if you have an intention that you'd like to share, just go into the reactions button and raise your hand, or you can also just wave wildly and Caroline will see you and call on you, and you can unmute yourself. And remember too that anything you're wondering about or reflecting about is certainly going to strike a chord for somebody else, so don't be shy. But if you are really shy, you can also put your question in the chat.
Sherry.
Good morning. I have really become aware that I want to join with my fear more, rather than allowing it to stop me from doing certain things. I don't know if you all saw the film Defending Your Life. Meryl Streep was one of the main characters, but it's about two people who go to the next level of being, like heaven, and there's a judgment there, but the judgment is, were you afraid? And they review different scenarios of the person's life, and then the more important question was, did you let it stop you? Did you let your fear stop you? And so, yeah, that's my intention right now, is to be more mindful of the fear and not let it stop me.
Wow, thank you. I love the part where you said you wanted to join with your fear, because you weren't talking about not being afraid. We're human beings, we have fear. It's natural, and especially when we're facing scary situations, it's
Mhm.
natural. So you were talking about, in a way, befriending your fear, feeling it, but not letting it be in charge of you. So thank you, Sherry. That's beautiful and inspiring.
Mhm.
Ashley,
Hey, so of course, you know that I'm a mom, so my first intention is always to just be the best mom I can be every year, every day, every moment, every second. But then my my intention as far as my practice is, of course, the next thing that comes up to me is to I'll continue to like be present for my next step, but to really find out what my next step should be, like as far as deepening my practice. What I should I focus on next, or what should I do? But the intention is really there to deepen my practice. But my question is like kind of, where do I go from here? And like I don't know, I guess I would like a reflection on that. I've asked, I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times, but I don't know. There's so many classes that I'd love to take, so many things I'd love to do, but I don't know what to do first, or like where to start stepping next, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, and we have talked about this before, and so I'm going to probably say something that I've said to you before, but I know you're going to be, you're, Sherry, can you unmute yourself? Because I can't see Ashley. For some reason, I'd like to be on speaker so I can see the face of whoever. Can you mute yourself? I meant to say. You were muted. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, sorry.
Let me
Yeah,
rephrase a little bit first before you answer.
there you
It's
are.
a very question that I have asked you before. So where I'm at now, I guess. I know I've done a mindfulness course through Inside LA. I really would love to be able to retreat, but obviously it's kind of hard with kiddo. And I guess a better question is how to deepen my practice while dealing with all of the things that are going on, and like where to shift my focus.
Okay, so that's a really great question. Thank you for, kind of streamlining it. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think what you're doing is what one does, what humans do, which is you're looking outside yourself and you're thinking, okay, what course can I take? What class should I do next? All of which are great questions, because those courses and classes for you, they give you some of the structure that a retreat would provide to keep connected to the practice and to keep doing it with a group. So those are great things to do. But the deeper question of deepening your practice, really in Buddhist practice or mindfulness practice, all the arrows point this way into your own heart, Ashley. It's just is to really be as present as you can with each moment, in each moment, including the moments when kiddo is driving you to feel homicidal. Including those moments, because I know you have a challenging kiddo. Sage is not, the like docile little child. Um, and so, when she's, yeah, driving you nuts, you need to feel fully, oh, this is what it feels like to be driven nuts by your kiddo. And this is what it feels like to have a challenging or a special needs kiddo. This is how it is. And then suddenly, yes, you're still in the heat of that difficult moment, but you're also with every other parent. And there are gajillions of them who is in the heat of that kind of moment. And so it's not just like observing with mindfulness, it's also letting yourself feel it fully, moment, 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 moment. And that's what you can do in your practice to deepen.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome. Liz?
Hi, good morning and Happy New Year, everyone. I just want to pass on a bit of wisdom from one of my favorite teachers, Arnold Rothberg. He says, instead of the first noble truth being there is suffering, he says the first noble truth for him is there is reactivity, which has really opened my mind and been very, very important to me. And there was reactivity. There was, and also I mentioned a while back to you acceptance. We had a little bit of talk about that, but acceptance for me is very, very important. Instead of getting totally freaked out by all the things that happened to me, and of course there are lots, more patience. And there was a song from the Threshold Choir, I'm not going to sing it, but this is what is, I don't have to like it. I don't have to like it, but this is what is. This is anger, this is hurt, this is fear. This is, I'm listening to Sylvia Boorstein. I tuned into the Spirit Rock program this morning and I'm going back after I leave you. The core, the cure, or the core maybe, is understanding that it's happening to everyone, not just me. For years, I thought I was the most neurotic and freaked out person on the planet. And Buddhism has helped me to normalize this. We all feel the same things to some extent because of our birth, our society, our gender, our inheritance, and everybody else. This is so important to me. Everybody else is feeling all this all the time, along with me. And self-compassion has changed my life. So I want to prescribe self-compassion to all of us everywhere. And we can do it through the Center for Mindfulness Self-Compassion with Kristen Neff and all of our teachers. And
Thank you, Liz. I really want to say what you're doing is giving everyone permission to be the neurotic Buddha, the freaked out Buddha, I forget the other word. Really.
yeah,
That's
yes,
ultimate self-compassion, isn't it?
very, very, very important.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you might want to put some of those resources in the chat for people.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Lenny.
Hi. I think what Trudy has taught me, either from little brief chats or from just listening to this, first of all, Trudy's sense of humor is wonderful. Things are funny, and she wants things to be funny, and I get such joy. But I mean, I'm so earnest. I just couldn't be more earnest, right? And I don't know, she's so when Trudy talks about screwing up and laughs about it and all that stuff, it just like opens something for me. That's really wonderful. So that's one thing. Just one other thing I wanted to mention, as Trudy was talking about, interconnectedness and stuff that I had to learn in graduate school. I don't know where you were, Trudy, but we had to learn about all that kind of connection. I'm passionate about the environment, and every person who writes about the environment, everybody always talks about the fact that you can't do it alone, that you've got to be with other people in connection, in relationship, and that is critical. Not just, I think, not just to to the healing the planet, but it's just critical to life. And we live in a very in some ways, we're very isolated. And so anyway, I just thought about that when Trudy was talking about interconnection. I thought a lot about, God, everything I've read says you've got to do it together. And everything I've ever done that has ever been given me any real joy has happened because we've done it together.
Yeah, and you've been, your lifetime of political work, Lenny. I mean, you've been working in communities all your life, right?
Yeah, right.
And, I think one of the hardest things, one of the scariest, hardest things about the pandemic, which isn't over, actually, for at least for those of us who are elders, I'll put it that way. It's not over, is the increased isolation and having to make real efforts. I mean, people are so sick of being on Zoom, and I get emails, when are we coming back in person? And actually, we do have the hybrid technology now that we didn't have at Inside LA a while ago, that we could do this in a way to be in person in LA, but also connected on Zoom. Because it's human beings, we have this tendency to be lonely and isolated and encapsulated in our thinking, in our thought world, and our sense of separateness from everything else, right? But then it's been exacerbated, is really all I'm trying to say, by the physical isolation and less freedom, as I said, at least for us elders. I know, like, for younger people, it's just not an issue anymore, but it still is for us. So
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's absolutely true.
Liz,
And Trudy, thank you for making just finding so much that's funny. It's like Trudy bursts open my most somber thoughts. She just bursts them open just by laughing. That does it usually.
yeah, well, look, I want you to know I had many years of, as you know, being a clinician, being very, very earnest, and there are certainly many earnest moments, as being in the teacher seat for sure. So I like earnest, but by nature, I just seem to be gravitating toward funny. So thank you for appreciating that, not seeing it as superficial or something. I really appreciate that.
I love it. I love it.
And I noticed that, oh, thank you, Liz. I was going to say, put in, some of the resources that you were sharing with us. And I noticed that Margot shared her intention in the chat to let go of negative stories that replay in the brain. That's one of mine too, to let go of these sort of dystopian stories that can run in my brain too. Cultivate spending more time on my art practice, self-compassion, and supporting my meditation practice. Beautiful. So if any of you would like to put in the chat your own intentions, I would love to see them. And for anybody who would like to say a bit more, please feel free. One of the things I love about the Buddhist teaching of dependent origination, of how things are actually all connected and influence each other, or of symbiosis. And there are lots of different kinds of symbiosis. There's symbiosis that doesn't benefit the host, like let's say the host is let's just for a random example, a virus, a COVID virus, that does not benefit us. We benefit the virus, but the virus does not benefit us. But these principles of connection, of symbiosis, or whether we, sort of humanize, look at how entanglement in the quantum field might relate There's no scientific way that this relates to human relationship, or at least not in any way that's been proven yet. But when I look at all of these things, I also think, Lenny, about ecology. These are teachings. These are ecological teachings, in fact, and so important for the preservation of our planet, of our world, of each other. So is there anybody else who would like to say something this morning? Oh, Meredith, hi.
Hi, Judy. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I've missed being in this group. Pardon me. So, and thank you everybody for what you said. Wow. Well, there's so many. I mean, since I've been listening to people, I'm like, yeah, well, that one. I have a fear. So I am inspired by someone's willingness to face her fears. I remember one of my first teacher standing during sesshin and saying, face your fears. And that was that.
Wow.
Yeah, you might remember her. Her name was Maureen.
Was it Maureen? I was just going to ask. So
Yeah.
Meredith and I mean, what was it? 35 years ago, we went
No, it was a lot more than that.
in 1990. So
Yeah.
but Meredith and I sat together in Cambridge, at the Cambridge Buddhist Association with my beloved teacher, Maureen Stewart Roshi. So that was, I don't know, 40 years ago. I didn't want to think about
Yeah,
it.
it was like 40, 45 years ago. It was a long time ago. I remember her. I don't know if this is okay to say. I'm sure she mentioned you, and I was there. Anyway, I don't think it's appropriate to right now. So that's the basic movement in practice. I mean, the direction, shall we say, it's like, so everything else, except, I guess, deeper than that, I feel, I don't know when I chose practice. I don't know when in my life or before this one, I don't know, but it is the root. And that, in my experience, is love and acceptance, compassion. And so why am I saying that? So now I have a big fear of feeling the anger and the hatred that I feel, and being honest with myself. Of course, they're not separate from the rest of me, I'll say. I've been a big people pleaser for a long, long time, which is fine. But it's also not self-respecting, and it's void of compassion for myself and other people. And it's not grounded. And I'm stuck there. I get stuck. And so stuck anywhere is sort of like it holds up me. I mean, it inhibits me. But I'm 76, and I feel strongly, out of so much respect for just love for the people, including myself, who've brought me along my path. And I want to respect my last years, especially. And others. I mean, I'm a caregiver for seniors, but course, I don't know when I'll die, but I want to have the courage to, and the kindness to accept that I will die. And it means a great deal to me that I don't think I've ever really articulated, because I don't know how, but I used to work with very young children and babies, newborns. And I have the same feeling now with the elders that I work with. And I need to share that with myself. The people, as we come into our lives as babies and as we leave, I just have this really big, I don't know what it's partly tenderness, but it's also, I think it's respect for what babies are embarking on. I don't usually think like this, I don't articulate it, but it's so profound to be born. And it's so profound to be alive, but they're right, like babies and little kids. I was a preschool teacher. And then the elderly, who are not quite always so much fun, but sometimes. I know I'm going on because I do. I'll stop.
You do. And yet you go on and on about deep things that are relevant to all of us, Meredith. And I want to thank you and wish you a happy new year. I want to thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty in speaking. Lots of times people don't want to admit their own anger and hatred. And we'd like to be spiritual beings who are mindful and sort of past all that. But in fact, anger and hatred exist. And by naming them and being aware of them and giving them that respect and tenderness that you're talking about, they actually don't hang around as long. And they just need to be seen and respected, I think. And then they don't hang around as long.
That's right.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. And I really want you to see the reel that Jack and I made on Instagram. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I am going to be teaching in Costa Rica. Next Sunday is, I think, a travel day. So whoever is teaching for me next week, please come and support them. And the friends who teach this group with me are also wonderful teachers. So I will, and they'll know when I'm coming back. And thank you, Faye, for your, oh, I like that one too. Look at what Faye put. I feel that is really a good mindfulness practice. Noticing when you're with somebody or you're doing something, is it nourishing you? Is it nourishing your heart? Is it giving you more energy, or is it draining you? That's really good. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. Let's take just one moment to sit together. Actually, maybe a few, but not even a whole minute. Oh, we offer the goodness of our practice to all beings everywhere, without exceptions. May we and all beings enjoy bountiful blessings in this new year. Thank you, everybody. And if you're staying for breakout group, don't get off your Zoom. Just stay on, and Caroline will, 10 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, so we'll come back in probably about 5 minutes. So go ahead, take a break, stretch your legs, and then we'll go ahead and move into the small groups.
Okay, 5 minutes. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Trudy. Happy New Year.
You, Trudy.
Bye.
Happy New Year, everyone. Much love.
Much love. Thank you so much.